Welcome to this explainer. Color is absolutely one of the most powerful tools we have in data visualization. When it's used well, it can instantly reveal hidden patterns, highlight critical exceptions, and direct your attention exactly where it needs to go. But, and this is a big but, if we don't use it carefully, color can just as easily distort meaning and totally confuse the audience. So today, we're going to shift our mental model. We need to stop thinking of color as this kind of decorative afterthought and really start treating it as a foundational, structural layer of information.
So there's this central tension we have to navigate in design, right? Color simply has to function as information rather than mere decoration. Think about the last time you looked at a poorly designed chart. You probably saw this absolute rainbow of colors that looked, visually striking, but they didn't actually tell you anything new. In fact, they might have even tricked your brain into seeing relationships that just weren't there at all. If a color doesn't represent a specific data value or really meaningful category, honestly, it's just noise.
Which brings us right to the essential question that's going to guide our whole explainer today. How should color be used to communicate meaning accurately and accessibly in data visualizations? We're going to break down the mechanics of color choice so that every single hue, shade, and contrast decision you make serves a clear purpose for every single viewer. Okay, let's dive right in. To build that strong visual language, we rely on three fundamental palettes: sequential, diverging, and categorical. Understanding exactly when to use each one is literally the foundation of purposeful data design. Let's look at how they work. First up is the sequential palette. We use this to represent ordered values that move strictly from low to high. The key rule here is visual progression. As your number goes up, a perceptual property of the color, usually how light or intense it is, changes right along with it. Just imagine a map showing population density. Areas with very few people might use this light, pale shade, but as that density climbs, those areas transition into darker, richer shades of that exact same color. Your eye just naturally understands that darker means more. Moving on, let's see how the diverging palette builds on that. You want to use a diverging palette when your data has a really meaningful midpoint. Think about tracking your spending against a budget. That neutral center is your anchor, your target, and the colors stretch out on either side to show exactly where you are under or over. So values falling below the budget might stretch toward one color, like blue. Values hovering right around zero difference, they sit in a neutral gray or white. And those values pushing above the budget stretch toward a totally second color, like orange. The third type is the categorical palette, sometimes called a qualitative palette. Now, unlike the other two, this one does not imply any numerical order, magnitude, or progression at all. It simply separates distinct items into different groups. If you're designing a chart comparing 4 corporate departments, say arts, business, science, and technology, 4 distinct colors let viewers instantly see which data point belongs where. But quick word of caution here. You've got to use this sparingly. If you have 20 different categories and you assign a unique color to every single one, you're forcing the viewer to constantly bounce their eyes back and forth between the chart and a massive legend. That creates massive cognitive load, which completely defeats the purpose of visualizing the data in the first place. So let's quickly lock in this mental model. Ordered low to high, sequential palette, like our density map. Pivoting around a meaningful midpoint, diverging palette, like the budget. Showing distinct unrelated groups, categorical palette, like the corporate departments. Choosing the wrong one from this list is for sure one of the fastest ways to accidentally mislead your audience. Now, when we talk about perceptual emphasis, less is actually more. Instead of making every single bar or dot on a chart bright and colorful, the absolute most effective visualizations rely heavily on neutral tones. By rendering your contextual data in soft grays or muted tones, and then using a single strong accent color just for the critical data point, you create instant perceptual emphasis. The color isn't just there to look pretty anymore. It's actively telling the viewer, hey, look right here, this is what matters. And that brings us to a hard boundary we must always respect: accessibility. To put this in perspective, roughly 1 in 12 men and 1 in 200 women experience some form of color vision deficiency. If your entire visualization depends on a viewer's ability to distinguish between red and green, which is a super common default for good versus bad, it might be incredibly difficult or frankly impossible for a good chunk of your audience to read. We literally cannot rely on hue alone to communicate critical differences. So how do we solve this accessibility challenge? We use a systemic process called redundant encoding. All that means is we encode the most important information in more than one way. First, choose a base color for status. Second, add a distinct, recognizable icon, like a warning triangle. Third, apply clear, direct text labels so there's zero ambiguity. And finally, perform a grayscale check. By combining color with icons, patterns, position, or text, you guarantee that the meaning survives even if the color is removed entirely. This leads right into a huge misconception in data design. A lot of creators assume that slapping more colors onto a chart automatically makes it clearer, more vibrant, and more engaging. But in reality, excessive color just increases cognitive load. It forces the brain to process a ton of unnecessary visual data, trying to figure out if all those different colors actually mean different things. It's deliberate, restrained color that actually directs attention and reveals the underlying structure. I mentioned this a moment ago, but let's really highlight the grayscale check as a foundational rule. It's a quick mechanical test you can run on literally any visualization. Just switch your dashboard or chart to grayscale. Do the important differences, the critical takeaways, or the structural boundaries completely disappear? If they do, your visualization relies way too heavily on hue. You need to go back in and add contrast, labels, or patterns to make sure that information stays totally intact. So before you publish your next dashboard, quickly ask yourself these diagnostic questions to retrieve everything we've covered today. What should the viewer actually notice? Is there an ordered progression in the data? If yes, sequential. Is there a meaningful midpoint? If so, diverging. Are these simply unranked categories? Then it's categorical. When you answer these, your color choices stop being arbitrary and become an active, structural part of the data itself. And that brings us to our final thought for this explainer. The goal is not to make a visualization colorful. The goal is to make its meaning visible. If every drop of color isn't carrying information, strip it away. So take a look at the very last chart you designed. Is the color actually telling a story? Or is it just making noise?